What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Bladen Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time in Matthew Sponauer and Theo Ash. And based on how many times you've been on the episode now, Bengal, I might as well add you to the run of my favorite co-hosts. Welcome back, man. How are you doing?
This is what, my third time, maybe?
Third time, yeah.
Third time. I guess that's... I guess you guys recorded, what, like 7 episodes total? And this is about roughly a little under half.
This is SNL, and who's the guy who always who's the guy who hosts SNL all the time? The
Alec
comedian?
Baldwin.
Is it him?
Compare me to Alec Baldwin, the guy who's in the news yesterday for he pulled the trigger when he killed that guy on set.
No.
You love the draft comp. So.
No. Why can't I think of his name? Steve Martin.
Steve Martin.
You're like the Steve Martin of Stay Hot.
That is another one. Alec Baldwin's been on a ton though, since you love him so much.
Okay, well, if you're Alec Baldwin, that has to make us SNL, which is also not the greatest comparison nowadays. But anyway,
I want to be the next SNL cast member.
Shut up.
But anyway, today we have a great episode planned for you all. We're going to talk a little bit about, season predictions as well as some reactions to the preseason thus far. But before we get into that, make sure everyone subscribes to the YouTube channel. Keep helping grow this podcast on all platforms. And of course, join the Chalkboard to stay in contact with us. Talk about some sports. You know the deal. Do we want to talk about just Bengal, your season predictions? Because I think we have a little bit of feathers that were ruffled.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't even fully agree with it, but you can only do...
You don't agree with your own season predictions?
Okay, so that sounds ridiculous because it's not like someone was like held a gun to my head and they're like, dude, make the Vikings go 7-10. And I'm like, I don't want to. But also, like, I have certain teams that I think are going to be in certain ranges. And just the way it kind of ended up going, how it is with your Texans season predictions, like, they're going to win 6 games, but they won't beat the Jags. And you're like, obviously that feels weird, but not every team can win every game they're supposed to. So it's, and I think the Vikings are better than a 7-10 team traditionally, but also like, I still predicted them to go 7-10. It's just, I hate the Vikings, I guess.
Okay.
It's always how it goes. And
you're just trying to get on Theo's good side. We get it.
As a Packer fan and Viking hater, but I actually think the Vikings will be quite good. But your method is to pick every individual game, right? You go on like ESPN's thing and go through that. So
it's not,
I'm interested.
It's playoff predictors, and they give you the option to do every game. But I just go for an overall record and division placement. So I'll mess with it a few times, and then if I have, let's say, the Eagles at 10-7, but I have the Cowboys ahead of them in the division, I might switch a game, or I might go back and just choose a game that, they could probably lose this. I don't think they're quite an 11-win team. So, I have ideas of the record and division placement, and then I play each week to my narrative.
Okay.
That's what you got to do. I always look at it
you gave the Panthers 8 wins. You're too high on the Panthers.
I don't think 8 wins is like insane, by the way. 8 wins is like you're probably a sub 500 team, but there's an extra game this year. So you could sneak another one and at least make it close.
I don't know, dude. They've got the bad quarterback, bad coach combo. So I don't think they're going to be in the hunt later in the season.
It seems like the offense has been clicking, and they have talent on really both sides of the ball. And then when I looked at that roster, I'm like, there's a decent bit of talent here, and they get the bonus of having to play the Falcons, and who knows if the Saints are going to bounce back and be a really, really good team. It depends. And I looked at their schedule, and I go, I could see them, sneaking up when you're that 8-win mark, and 1 or 2 bounces go a different way, and that's the difference between 5 or 6 wins and 8 or 9 wins.
Yeah, I think I had him at 6. So 8 is like within, I think, the high. That's where I would say like the high end of their projection, but it's not like you had him at 10, I suppose.
I think their weapons are pretty weak when McCaffrey goes down, and I think McCaffrey playing 17 games is pretty unlikely. He's incredibly injury prone, and then outside of that, it's like DJ Moore's great, but they don't have any other receivers I feel good about. And I don't feel good about Baker making plays. So I worry about the offense a decent amount.
Bengal, we're going to jump you for being too high on all of our favorite teams because you're also higher on the Packers than me and lower on the Vikings than me.
He's not higher. He's not high on the Browns. He's not high on the Browns at all.
Well, you know why that is if you think about it. So, I think the Browns are quite good. But then last year with also, not a great quarterback situation, the Browns did worse than they feel like they should do. And they kind of just been doing that every year. So it's like, it's not a team I can believe in and be like, yeah, they're totally going to just get everything together. And with everything going on at quarterback, they're just going to magically, pull 10 wins out for the first time. I didn't see that.
I get it.
Are the Vikings the team you're most scared of after these predictions? You had them at 7-10. Are they the team that you're most like, oh man, that one could come back to bite me? Or is there one even still where you're like, please, please, please be right? Because, if not, is that, I guess, which one are you getting the most flack for? I suppose is another way to phrase that.
I think people didn't love the Vikings. It seems like I got fewer complaints this year, though. I mean, I get the classic, like, oh, you think the Giants are going to go 7-10? It's like, dude, I predict the Giants to do poorly every single year. I don't think 7 wins is like that crazy. But, if I'm too early on some teams, like, are the Saints going to go 10-7? Are the Dolphins going to jump up, go 10-7? Are the Jets going to go 7-10, especially with Zach Wilson being kind of in flux? We don't know, but he's not going to be out for the season or anything. I think it's like 2 to 3.
Thank goodness.
Weeks.
Yeah.
Colts, maybe. Maybe I'm worried about the Colts. I have them at 9 wins.
Do you have them?
I can get behind.
Are you worried they're going to be way worse or way better?
I'm worried that they're going to be better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think 9
I had the Colts.
Right.
I had the Colts winning the division at 10-7. So it's one game off. And that's the difference.
The difference why the one game off matters, though, is I have them missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
Whereas I have the Titans with the same record making the playoffs because I think they're going to win the division because that's what they do in the AFC South somehow.
You're one of the
I'm just
only
a little bit lower.
You're one of the only people who has agreed with me that the Titans are winning that division again. It seems
they just do.
It seems like everyone collectively is down on them, but my mindset is if they won it last year with all the injuries, like they can win it this year without all those injuries. You're the first person.
On paper look pretty good. Like they're talented. They do. That was my same problem with the Panthers, Matt, is I look at their team and I go, there's a number of different guys that I really like on this team. And they're younger guys too that are getting better. And if you look at their secondary, like CJ Henderson, all the potential in the world, still so young, former first-round pick, has been good. And the reports about him are my favorite, is that, this guy's really committed, loves football, was just stuck in a bad situation in Jacksonville. They're getting another first-round corner, top 10, and J.C. Horn back. Dante Jackson's good. They have a great young group of guys, this defensive line. I mean, I could go on and on. Linebackers.
J.C. Horn will be good. CJ Henderson is okay. And Dante Jackson, I think, is not that good at all. I fear when losing Gilmore, I don't feel any better about their cornerback room. They have a lot of young guys that I'm excited for, but I'm not banking on all of them turning out.
Yeah, you can't.
Horn is also still injured at the moment, is he not? He hasn't been practicing.
Good. Yes. This leads to Dante Jackson, cornerback 1, which will be a disaster.
At least Dante Jackson, at least he has the athletic profile.
Hey,
right?
He jumps real high. I'll give him that.
He has played well. He got paid, for a reason. And then the thing with J.C. Horn though is it's training camp. It's preseason, and he's such a prize guy. They don't want to throw him out there too early. So I think we're going to see him quite a bit this season. At least I hope so.
Yeah,
I do too.
I'm trying to think. What else did you have that I'm going to yell at you for?
The Chargers were a little low.
You're low on the Chargers and you're low on the Eagles. Those are 2 of my favorite teams.
Those are your 2 1 seeds, no?
Yeah. Those are, or no, the 49ers were my 1 seed. The 49ers were my 1 seed. But the Chargers and the Eagles are 2 teams that I'm really high on. Why do you think those are both 10-win teams?
Yeah, so I don't think it's about the total wins per se, because I think they're quite a good team, but they got a really tough schedule, and they play in that AFC West. And I think, at least just based on the way things look, I think you could just say every team's going to win 3 games in division and lose 3 games, because I don't think there's a distinct difference between 3, maybe even 4 of those teams in the AFC West, because the Chargers got a whole lot better, but the Raiders, first of all, like had so many problems last year. It was like disaster after disaster. You'd open up Twitter in the morning and say, "Oh, another player arrested. Oh, the head coach is a racist. Oh, like, it was a million different things."
I'm high on the Raiders too.
With Rich Bisaccia, they ended up like doing quite well. And I mean, I think we remember that week 18 matchup now, the battle of those teams trying to sneak into the playoffs. And the Raiders, like, they're good. And I think they got a whole lot better with Devontae Adams, who is just unbelievable. Yeah. And Chandler Jones isn't Chandler Jones from maybe 3 years ago, but he's still a really solid player. And so it's like you talk about the Chargers getting J.C. Jackson and Sebastian Joseph Day and Khalil Mack and going out in the draft and getting a starting offensive lineman tomorrow in Zion Johnson. It's like they got a lot better too. But then you look at the Broncos, you got Russell Wilson. It's like every team is getting better. I just think it's going to be tough for the Chargers to win 11 or 12 games when they play in that division.
Nate Hobbs is the key to the Raiders. And like
that's
everything,
one of the DUI guys last year.
Yes, everything hinges on him. Maybe last year, all the problems with the Raiders motivated them. What's the like wounded tiger theory? Is that what it's called? Where like something horrible happens and everybody else like kind of locks in even more. Because the Raiders last year, I believe there was like a stretch in the season where they were like 1-5 and they just got torched by the Chiefs. And they were a team in that AFC where it's like, yes, they made the playoffs, but like, is this a good playoff team or a bad playoff team that is going to regret? Like, to me, they did get better, but they're also staving off a little bit of regression in close win scenarios and stuff. Like they seem to clutch up a lot of the wins that were narrow. Their points margin, their points differential was one of the lowest of all the playoff teams. So it's like, they'll need to get better to even get back to 10 wins. Because if they ran back the same roster, I wouldn't bet on it being that good again. Like that's kind of where I'm at with them, where in that division, I did like them after they made the moves, but the more I've looked into them, the more I've cooled on them. And to me, they're the losers there. Then the Broncos and then the Chiefs and Chargers are the two that are still like probably cream of the crop. That's where I'm at with the division. But
yeah, it's fair.
It's all valid. It's that division. Like everyone, I think should get a pass on it, no matter what, no matter how it's ranked. If it goes opposite order, like it's just so much change and hard to project.
Yeah. And then the Eagles, I gotta understand, man. Do you just hate Jalen Hurts? Is that it?
I don't think he's good. I'm just like plain and simple. I kind of don't understand, your hype on him. But I think, the Cowboys are still going to be good. I think the Giants got better, and I think it's going to be, they still might go 0-2 against the Eagles this year, but it's just another team that's tougher to beat. And even though they got better, and I think they really did, it's tough to win 11 or 12 games, depending on what your schedule is. They totally could. Like I was going through and I had them losing to the Jaguars. And I think they're actually going to lose to the Jaguars? Like, probably not. Right. But also, it is tough to win these games. It's not always as clear as it seems. And I don't think the Eagles, when looking at their schedule and based on what they did last year, I just think it's going to be tough to win 11 or 12. But I could see it happening. Like wherever the record is for me, I could see plus or minus 2 or 3 wins or losses, depending on who it is. Like
plus or minus 3 is a big margin.
Okay, well,
it is, but also I could see it.
So give me the best case scenario for the Giants then. Plus 3 wins from their 7 win season.
See, I don't think they're a plus 3. I think they're
give me the
a plus 2.
What does a Giants playoff team look like this year?
I don't think they're a playoff. I mean, I think their ceiling is like the 8 or 9, but when you look at the changes they've made, like I think they're going to maximize talent, because you have to remember with some situations, like, some teams we see a breakout with a similar roster with new coaching just because they're being maximized, and with a history of success in Buffalo and a history of success in Kansas City for both Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka. It's like the offense, I think, is going to be able to score points. And when we all look at Kenny Golladay and we say, oh, that guy is terrible, and he has his deficiencies for sure, but that was a guy who was successful in Detroit. And then we look at Kadarius Toney, and we've seen a flash of Kadarius Toney. He had nearly 200 receiving yards in a game against the Cowboys, and then just couldn't stay healthy and on the field. And then they brought in Wan'Dale Robinson, who kind of do a bunch of different things. Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. It's like those aren't all-star, all-pro guys I name, but like I think those guys and Saquon hopefully bouncing back and the offensive line getting better. It's like you can point to so many upgrades they've made, not even just with personnel, but with the players, but with coaching staff as well. Defense, they picked up Kayvon Thibodeau, which is going to be a big upgrade. And Wink Martindale on defense is a super aggressive defensive coordinator, and you can win a lot with a guy like that. Obviously, you open yourself up. It's a big risk, but he's been so successful for so long. I bet on all their upgrades to win 7, and it's 7 games. It's not that many from their 4 or 5 last year.
Right. Saquon looked sharp in their first preseason game. I thought that was their Golladay obviously was trending on Twitter for bad, that was bad. I thought Neal was a little bit shaky to start, but Saquon,
which he should be. It's amazing that a guy like Rashawn Slater, Tristan Wirfs was even able to come in and be good their rookie year, let alone all pro level.
Sewell was legitimately getting labeled a bust at this time last year. So it's even though Neal did look shaky, and I think that's a fact, he messed up some, but it's all right, and he can pull it together. I guess, that kind of, I think maybe segues into maybe some of the more week 1 of the preseason takeaways or stuff that we were excited to watch. Matt, I know Matt Corral led a stunning game-winning drive that I know must have excited you watching that.
First, I got to do an ad read, though.
Okay.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Odd Traders. For play-by-play updates, live scores, and bet tracking, Odds Trader is the place to go. They have the best price on every game and sign-up offers for multiple sports books. Plus, they have player statistics, key game stats, and even projected game day weather. You can use their bet tracker to keep records of all your games and betting activity. Odds Trader is the #1 site for all your game day bets. To begin your handicapping journey, make sure to go to the oddstrader.com/bluewire. Odds Trader is the beginning of your best bets for all sports. Download to now.
But yes, Matt Corral did not look good. Broke my heart, man. And Matt, I know that couldn't have felt good for you either.
I don't care. It's preseason.
Yeah, but it's your future franchise quarterback.
It's preseason.
It's a 3rd-round pick. It's also a 3rd-round pick. That's the thing with all these rookies, with Malik Willis, with Desmond Ridder, with Matt Corral. They aren't the future. They aren't the guaranteed future of the franchise. Corral is. No, he's not. No, he is not. None of them are.
Compared to Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. Give me Matty Ice.
If you had let's say the Panthers pick in the top 5 next year, are you taking a quarterback?
No, you have Matt Corral.
Okay, never mind then, I suppose.
I mean, the odds of a 3rd-round quarterback working out are not great. I'm more excited about Matt Corral than I am about Will Greer when we drafted him and wasted a pick. I mean, that was stupid, but
Will Greer.
Yeah, he didn't look great. I mean, I said on my Twitter that he's getting his incompletions out of the way now so he can progress to the mean in the regular season. And
that's a good idea.
But I don't know. He's not going to be ready for a while. And this is the thing I actually don't like about the Matt Corral draft pick. Is Matt Corral ready to play this year?
No.
Nope, not ready to play this year. Shouldn't get any time in the regular season. He needs to sit a year, right? If the Panthers are bad, should they draft a quarterback? Yep. Well, so then how do you play that situation? If you don't play Matt Corral for the full season, that's probably the best thing for him. But if he doesn't play, then there's no way to know if he's good enough to the point where you should not draft a quarterback highly next year. It's the same thing why I think Desmond Ridder's in a bad situation too. He has to play this year, and he has to be good enough so when the Falcons have the #1 overall pick, they don't take a quarterback. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but I think that also comes to practice and just how the coaches feel about him in practice. And I think if he just looks good enough in practice, they might feel comfortable enough to roll with him for at least another season.
And it depends who the coaches are, though, right, too? Because in a case like the Panthers, for example, if the Panthers don't do well this year,
that rule is cooked.
Let's say they don't go 8-9. Matt Rule going to be fired, and then new head coach comes in, probably wants his guy at quarterback in the draft. Maybe not. We'll see.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So I agree with you, Matt. And I think that I heard that so many times this weekend about all the third round guys. And like, this is the future of this team. Malik Willis, Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder. It's not a guarantee at all. And I think we need to kind of look at the past of third round quarterbacks, the Davis Webbs of the world. I think he was a third rounder. And some of these other dudes drafted in the third round. That's the caliber of these quarterbacks. That's the commitment level that these teams have given these quarterbacks. So when you break down Desmond Ridder, when you break down Matt Corral, when you break down Malik Willis, it is not like breaking down Kenny Pickett. It is not, they're not at that same standard. They're not like in the team's plans to the extent as Trevor Lawrence was last year.
It's like any other position. Yes. This is what people don't realize. Like, people are like, oh, quarterbacks, we need to go into like the third year of this rookie quarterback or this young quarterback being bad and he still needs a chance. Like, you would not do that with any other position. Or unless like if a third rounder is bad right away.
Bradbury.
Right. Like if a
first round pick, he's a first round pick, but he's been bad for years.
Yeah.
And he's still starting.
If a third round pick is like bad for the first year, they're probably not guaranteed like their starting spot going into the next year. They're probably like, the team is probably not going into the next offseason like, well, we're just going to keep rolling with him and see what happens. That doesn't really happen. So I feel the same way about a lot of these young quarterbacks, especially on the bad teams. I'd say Malik Willis is probably in the best spot of any of them.
I'd agree.
Yeah, getting to sit behind Tannehill is definitely a plus.
There's no pressure for him to come in.
Yep. That's
and really I didn't think Ridder looked that good either.
No, he did not.
He was okay. He was fine. He had a few nice throws, but like, yeah, dude, that touchdown he had at the end of the game was a 50-50 ball. It wasn't anything like super special, or that interception that he had that doesn't count because of roughing the passer wasn't super great either.
Yeah,
but he had a few nice throws.
I think when you also look at like who they're playing with on the field and who they're playing against, it's also really hard to judge these guys, because like Matt Corral was playing with like literally like the last, like the reserves, like the last line of guys on that depth chart. So I think that's really right, but against the last line of guys on the depth chart.
How bad would he have to do before we can just say he played bad? You know,
Matt Corral went 1 for 9.
He went 1 for 7, but have you accounted for his gravity?
Have you accounted for? God damn it!
But anyway,
no. I just some guys, you play with bad people, play against bad people. It's hard to judge at that point.
The best rookie quarterback probably was Pickett, the first round pick. And although he did throw for about 6 yards per attempt, it was like 13 for 15, something like that. A lot of checkdowns, a lot of short passes, but that's something that you need to learn. So it was overall a positive performance from him.
I thought Bailey Zappi.
He was the one that I guess impressed me the most, but there's like several asterisks there where he wasn't exactly slinging it up and down the yard. But
I thought Bailey Zappi also looked pretty good. Lots of back shoulder throws, like a stupid amount of back shoulder throws for no reason.
He's going to be the king of the underthrown pass interference penalty. That's all I could think about when I was watching him. I was like, oh man, the wide receiver is working back through the defender to make this catch. The little Jordan Humphrey touchdown, all of them. Yeah. All of his passes were like that. I'm like, he can draw. He'll be an MVP candidate once he draws 30 defensive pass interference, like 30 yards down the field this year.
Yeah, and he had one nice play where he like stepped way up into the pocket, like as it's collapsing. So nice pocket presence there and delivered a nice shovel pass. I thought he looked all right. Pickens looked good. And then speaking of the Steelers, George Pickens looked phenomenal. Because he's him. Wide receiver. He was my wide receiver 3, man. So, we're about to get into guys we want to take victory laps on. He's someone I'm going to take a victory lap on. Bengals, or anyone in your pre-draft process that you were really high on that you felt other people weren't? and now you're like, yeah, I was right about that.
Well,
1 week.
I mean, it's tough not to mention George Pickens, even though you just did. But the thing with him is not like the talent, because I think everyone really agreed on the talent. But the worries with him and why he fell in the draft was like serious maturity issues.
Right.
So I don't know, but yeah, I'm as stoked as you are about him. I really am.
No, like I always get mad because like the Ravens and Steelers tend to draft guys that I like, or that like when the Steelers had Ryan Shazier. I'm an Ohio State fan. That hurt my heart. They drafted George Pickens. I love George Pickens. The Ravens drafted Lamar and J.K. Dobbins. So I always have to deal with this bullshit, man. It's the worst.
Yeah, just don't even watch college football. That's the only way you can avoid it. I mean, I'm a huge Texas fan, and their biggest rival is Oklahoma. And I'm watching, like Adrian Peterson when I'm younger, and I'm like, this guy's the best player I've ever seen. And then even more recently, I'm watching CeeDee Lamb, and I'm like, this guy is awesome. It's like, dude, you got to appreciate the players, like regardless of team, I think.
Yeah. No,
but it's not always easy. It's not always easy.
I try to.
I get that.
So you were a big George Pickens fan. I'm glad.
I was going to take a victory lap on Khalil Shakir, who was a 5th round pick that I had like a 2nd round grade on. And then they gave him to the league, messed up and gave him to Josh Allen and the Bills in the 5th round. And when I watched Shakir, I was like the very nuanced route runner, like doing some very crafty things to get open. And after the catch, he was breaking tackles, seemed to have good contact balance, seemed to have pretty soft hands. He made a lot of great catches outside of his frame. The famous one, I think it was against maybe, I want to say Hawaii. I could be wrong, where he had like an Odell Beckham-esque one-hander on the sideline. He played Oklahoma State and made some ridiculous snags behind him or way out in front of him on the sideline, like big catch radius, soft hands. There maybe were a couple concentration drops in there. I think I can remember that. But overall, I thought that he could really pluck the ball out of some difficult situations and was a nuanced route runner and was good after the catch. And he would like insert into the formation and come in and block, which is probably what he's going to be doing on the Bills as a primary slot guy. So I was like, this guy's just a baller. Maybe he doesn't have the complete high-end athleticism that maybe some other dudes have, but had a good combine, although all the wide receivers had good combines this year, it seemed. He ran like a 4.4. It's like not a lot of weaknesses here. Take him whenever, After the first round, I don't think he quite has that like high-end, high all-pro end ceiling, but like after the first round, I'd go for it. And then he went in the 5th round, 92 yards, 5 for 5 targets, receptions.
Yeah.
Looked really smooth. He's someone where I'm just like, I'm so sure that that's going to be, as a 5th round pick, he's going to have a better career than like 90% of everyone taken above him. And it's been one preseason game, but that's the guy I'm just like, yeah, I'm right. Don't care what anybody else says. I'm right about him. And that's my guy that I'm taking a victory. Also a wide receiver. I could also talk about Dameon Pierce, who was fantastic in his debut. Bengal, I know that you're a Damien. We talked about this before the show, and we're instructed to have the exact same conversation again. But Dameon Pierce looked good. I don't know who exactly you were high on before pre-draft, but is there anybody that you're just like, oh yeah, everything's going according to plan so far with training camp hype in week 1 of the preseason?
I just think it's too early to really nail down a ton of guys. But we talked about Dameon Pierce. He's a beast, and Isaiah Pacheco is getting a lot of hype right now as well. Apparently taking a lot of first team reps with the Chiefs. I think Sky Moore, though, is maybe the biggest one because we're seeing him just dominate training camp. And he was someone I was super high on. I think he can play inside and outside. I don't think he's just a slot guy. So I think he's going to be really, really like surprisingly productive to a lot of people who probably didn't know the name Sky Moore and probably still don't, I should say.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on Isaiah Pacheco?
We talked about.
Yeah, I thought he was explosive. I mean, he's a guy with like another gear, and home run speed can be important. It's not the end all be all. Thought he had pretty good contact balance as well. I think the player is quite good.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad player. I said in our like a couple episodes ago, I think he has poor focus as a runner, and like as in both, I don't think he has great vision. And I think like when he's blocking, like there was a play where the quarterback was rolling right, and he was like rolling with him to block, and he like pushed a guy downfield to the point where it could have been like offensive pass interference. And I was like, that's kind of a boneheaded play.
Well, if it wasn't pass interference,
it wasn't
just
called.
an amazing block then? If you drove a guy like 10 yards downfield, that sounds pretty sick.
No, I mean, it was sick, but like if the quarterback had thrown it to the underneath guy instead of the over top, then all of a sudden it's a penalty, right? So that's the only thing. And then there was like the viral clip of him in pass pro in camp, but then there was like literally the person who posted that clip also posted a clip of Ronald Jones and Clyde Edwards-Helaire doing the exact same thing, and those didn't blow up. So I'm like, he might be good, but people are hyping him up to be like the best running back on that team, and I don't know if that's necessarily the case. So that's my only thing.
Speaking of best running back on the team, Jerome Ford had a kind of like he was. I've been hyping him up for a reason. That's all I'm going to say. He had led the team in receiving and rushing.
Yep,
scored twice.
Never seen Nick Chubb do that. I've never seen Nick Chubb lead the Browns in receiving and rushing.
No, but I'm excited about him.
Did we see the Colts? Did we see anything of Pierce? We're on Bearcat watch. I know that Matt, that's got to be what you've been
They
on.
all did pretty well. I saw Brian Cook had a big hit. He's going to be great.
Okay. How was Kobe Bryant?
Oh, he was bad. He was cooked by Pickens. He's the one who met Pickens' wrath. Number 8.
Tough.
Well, Thorpe Award winner Kobe Bryant. He will bounce back. How was Gardner? I didn't watch the Jets.
The only thing I saw from the Jets was Zach Wilson throw 2 of the worst passes I've seen in my life. Tweak his knee, and then
could not have been worse. Could not have been worse than that
Jets.
Deshaun Watson throw.
Oh, it was worse. It was worse. Bengal, what do you think about Zach? I don't know. Do I know your opinions on Zach Wilson? Do you think, like, minus the injury and minus all the, MILF hunting hype that he's gotten, like, do you think he's going to be good, or are you lower on him?
I'm team Zach Wilson.
Okay.
I thought he was actually like pretty good the second half of last season as well.
He did. Yes. The Buccaneers game is really what you can point to and be like, there it
and
is.
He's another guy you can bet on with like traits. And that's one of the reasons he was drafted as high as he was. And it was tough because I was a guy who missed horribly on Josh Allen. But at the same time, it's like I was right for the first year and year 2. And then he turned into an all-pro, right? So it's like, do I now bet more on traits and upside, or do I bet on someone I know is going to be good enough? And that would be the difference between like valuing Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett. Like Pickett, undoubtedly a better quarterback right now and like way more polished, but Willis has the big arm and the athleticism, the ability to extend plays, and you can't teach that stuff. As cliche as that sounds, but you can't. That's why guys go above other guys.
Yeah. I mean, I also think you can bet on traits, but like if Josh Allen was playing for the Bears, you wouldn't be betting on the Bears, right? Because they do a terrible job of surrounding their guys with talent, and Matt Nagy was the coach.
If the Bears are good, we are so cooked on this podcast. I've got to start hyping them up a little bit.
Bengal, did you see that I gave the Bears 2 wins?
I mean, when you look at the roster, I get it.
It's bad.
Just the only problem I have with that is when you look at it from the argument of, all right, well, the Bears won, I think, like 5 last year, and they had a coach actively working against them. It's like, well, surely they can, steal another one or 2.
But like they have like 2.5 good players on that team.
Yeah,
You're
right.
Brisker looked really good his debut game. That was another preseason standout. I thought he was all around the ball. Robert Quinn was legitimately like fantastic last year, and he has been so up and down. I mean, he had 2 sacks the year before in like 16 games.
So I mean, he's going to have
18.5. So we'll see.
You can
if
get like 3.5 sacks this year.
The range of outcomes with him is so crazy, but I guess I could see if a deal gets done with Roquan, that defense that was okay last year, getting Brisker and who is the guy they drafted from Washington, Kyler Gordon. I could see maybe them having a top half of the league defense, maybe, or at least maybe around mid, like an okay defense.
It might. I don't
And
think
that
it could be
keeps
better than
them from like 2
league
wins.
average.
That's, I guess, my argument for the Bears. And then Fields takes a step and like is able to have a better year despite the lack of talent. So Bears fans, I think they're going to win. I had them at 4 games, so this is not, me being.
I compared the Bears roster to the 1-15 Browns. I think it's very comparable to that team. So, it is what it is.
I don't know if it's quite that bad.
What are your thoughts on Kenny Galladay?
It's not a strong roster.
just overall, just point blank.
Yeah, just point blank.
Yeah, gun to your head.
I think he's a good contested catch receiver, and I think he's a good jump ball red zone threat type guy. But he's not someone that's going to separate at even like an above average level. He's a jump ball guy, and that's it.
Who do you think?
I think he's good at that.
Who do you think that leads the Giants in receiving yards this year?
Kadarius Toney.
There we go. He's so sick, dude. Like, I love that guy. Even though he's like, I don't even know. Is he hurt right now or out of practice or something?
So he had missed some time. I think it's just another situation of just being careful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is the hardest guy to tackle in the NFL. He is the hardest guy to tackle. There is no one more difficult.
He's slippery.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of other guys from the preseason that really stood out to me. Karlaftis was one, who is a guy I really liked pre-draft. Watching him against the Bears, I saw him bend the corner and get a pressure, which is not even something he's supposed to be doing. But late in the second quarter, I saw something like that. He got a sack after hitting the tackle with a swim move. He had pretty good speed to power earlier in the game where he rushed number 70 right into Fields' lap. There was a play where he shot his hands, and then that kind of got the tackle to kind of overextend when he times his punch up. But Karlaftis drew his hands away, and then once that tackle was overextended, he hit him with a long arm and was able to drive him back a couple yards and register some pressure that way. So there was just a lot of like ways that he was winning as a pass rusher. Karlaftis, he was a standout to me. Charles Cross, I thought was real good. From the limited stuff I saw from him, couldn't watch him the whole game, but his punch is just gorgeous to watch, and he gets his hand placement right every time. And I don't think he really surrendered any major pressure. So those were some other guys that I really was like, yeah, going back.
Theo, I thought, speaking of swim moves, maybe we should give a shout out to our good friends at Run Your Pool.
That was pretty good.
Solid transition.
Swim move, run your pool. I get it. Run Your Pool is the home of competition, bringing sports fans and their social circles closer together to compete, connect, and make every game matter more. Run Your Pool offers every game type under the sun, from Pick'em and Survivor to fantasy pools. It's a one-stop shop for sports gaming with customizable features that you don't get anywhere else. But that's not all. We've teamed up with Run Your Pool to host a pool for us and our listeners for an opportunity to compete against us. How to play? It's simple. Join the pool via the link in the description or at play.runyourpool.com/stayhot. Sign up and make your picks. But why not make it interesting, right? Run Your Pool will be giving out cash prizes to the winners, so if you manage to beat us, you won't walk away empty-handed. So make sure to join today at play.runyourpool.com/stayhot. Again, that's play.runyourpool.com/stayhot, or just check the link in the description.
I have a question for you, Bengal.
Shoot.
Have you seen Bladen's top 100 list?
Oh, brother.
They pop up on my Twitter timeline, but I don't really do much more than a and then I'll scroll down.
You've seen the.
You should quote
They're not going
one
super
of these,
great.
one of these days. I love it.
Once we get into the top 15, I think people will start to relax.
You're in a rough stretch right now, Bladen. You're in your flop era in the list right now, and every weekday every day at 11 p.m. I get the Bladen tweet notification for the list, and I see who it is, and it's like Tyron Smith, and I'm like, this is not going to go well, dude.
He's like the second best tackle in football.
I'm not going to get into it.
No. No.
Okay.
He wasn't last year because he missed 6 games.
He did miss 6 games, but he was when he was on the field,
He is still quite good.
he was so good. I had multiple Cowboys fans message me, and they're like, "You're right about that." When he was not on the field, our offensive line was a disaster, and I was like,
He's good. He just missed 6 games.
"Yeah."
Let's talk about the New York Yankees, Bengal. Let's talk about the New. Enough with all this football.
I'm wearing my Colorado Rockies hat today.
Name one player on the Rockies. In their history. One player in Rockies history.
No, literally, it was the guy that hit 3 home runs on June 1st.
He's your favorite
I can't
player.
remember his name, though.
You've got that one random stat down.
Story used to play. Story doesn't play for them
1st.
anymore, does he? He used to play for them.
No.
I don't know who that is.
Did he ever play for them?
Trevor Story. Yeah, for a while.
Okay, good.
He actually had a super fun fact is like his first, I think 4 hits were all home runs.
Okay, wow.
Something wild. Like maybe
That's
like
crazy.
6 of his first 7 hits were home runs as well.
How are the Yankees
Something
doing?
close.
Are they still good? Because when we went to LA for the baseball thing, I knew a lot about baseball for a minute, but now I haven't heard anything about that sport since the All-Star break. Are the Yankees still the best team in baseball?
They've had a very rough stretch.
Oh, no.
Very rough stretch. Yeah, real bad.
That's because they traded
Like-
away the heart and soul of their team.
Joey Gallo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You're
they're not winning the World Series anymore.
I hope that they do. I think they're still a really good team. They're just going through a rough patch. Like the games that they were winning that were close, late in games, just like edging it out early in the season, they're losing those, and that's just baseball. So
Yeah.
Is Judge still going to win MVP?
he's got to. He's been just unbelievable. He's been so good. Like last season, for example, he finished. Let's see here. Finished 4th in the MVP. And his counting stats, he had 24 doubles, 39 home runs, 98 RBIs, even just for perspective. And that was in 148 games. This year, there are only 110 games in. He has 19 doubles, 46 home runs, 100 RBIs already.
Damn.
It's like, what are you doing? It's every time he comes up, it's like a home run. 46 home runs in 110 games.
That's ridiculous.
Is ridiculous.
Even I know that's ridiculous.
He's someone that I look at and I'm like, that guy just looks like he'd be better than everybody else. That's like, I don't know much about baseball scouting, but like the whole like bet on traits thing in football, like I know nothing about scouting baseball, know nothing about where Aaron Judge comes from. But I look at that guy, I'm like, that guy's got the body of the best baseball player. Like that's just what the best baseball player should look. He's got to be like 6'7" or something ridiculous like
6'7", 282.
Is he actually 6'7"?
Oh,
Sick. Yeah.
282
Yeah,
pounds.
he is large.
I hope he was a bad hit. This is like Moneyball guy probably would have passed on him. They would have been like, what's his?
Too big, too
He's
strong.
too big
Didn't
and
know what he
too
was
strong.
doing,
What's
though.
his? And they would have missed. Moneyball, Brad Pitt in Moneyball would have looked at him and all of his like fellow front office guys would have been like, we need to draft this guy. And Brad Pitt would have said no. But that's like one of the, I don't know what his hitting stats were in college or wherever he was before this, but I'm like, damn, that's a big ass dude right there. That's what the greatest player in every sport should look like. It's like Ronaldo in soccer. Like that guy's got to be like the biggest soccer player ever. He's not actually, but just freak athlete. Just gotta draft these freak athletes, man.
The Reds are still like the worst team in baseball, right? I only ask because
Probably right up there.
Nice.
The Nationals got really, really bad though. So the Nationals are right up there. Like the Pirates are probably a little bit better, but still bad. The Angels, despite having like 2 of the best players of all time, are terrible.
There was a point in time around Mother's Day where Reds tickets were like $1.
you can go to a Reds game for nothing. I mean, we can walk.
They
to the
will pay you to
stadium.
go.
No,
They're
that's
please,
awesome.
we
I was
need
joking. I was
attendance.
like, you should just get your mom a Reds tickets for Mother's Day instead. Like it's cheaper than flowers. Like,
Yeah, I saw on Twitter this one thing was like it's $150 for a family of 4 to go to a Reds game. There is no truth to that. You can go to a Reds game for $20 for people, and if you go on Tuesday, they've got like pretty good deal on hot dogs and beer. And if these families pre-gamed, they wouldn't even need to get that. So it's not that expensive. It's great to have a bad team.
As we're talking about baseball here, will Tatis be playing for the Padres for the rest of his contract, or will they get sick of him and
He's
void
a
it?
Red.
He's a Red.
He's just like so good though. He's my favorite active MLB player. He's just electric, and this like steroid stuff is just so like bad. Like early in his career too. Like you get this super fun, exciting player, and now maybe their entire legacy forever is tarnished. Right. So it's really sad to me. But he's so good. It's like, why would you really get rid of him if you can keep him somehow?
I saw that there was some way to like, perhaps because of the motorcycle accident, there is language in the contract where they could get out of it or something. And some people were floating that as a possibility. But he's suspended for 80 games. No, they're 110 games into the season, so he'll only miss the first like 10th of next season. Is that what am I reading into that?
That's still quite a bit, though.
That's still quite a bit.
Entire rest of the regular season, entire playoffs, and then into next season. It only, I believe, counts for regular season games.
Okay.
But
well,
also,
are they making the playoffs? The Padres, aren't they like 16
they
games
should.
back?
They should.
Okay. Well, yeah, damn. Anyway, that's Stay Hot baseball talk. That's about
Stay Hot baseball. Now it's time for Stay Hot men's grooming talk. You know, fellas, fantasy football draft season is right around the corner. You know, CD Lamb is good, but have you heard about? But have you seen these?
Who writes these? Manscaped.
Yeah, I'm interested. But go ahead, complete the line. You started it. No, go ahead, Blake.
All right. So
I was interested to see whether or not you would actually like go through with that one because I would have just skipped it.
I'm the GOAT. I want you to read.
I want to be a director mode. I want you to read this in a deep voice as dramatically as possible.
I cannot read this in a deep voice. Like, have you seen these? Have you seen these? No, I'm playing. It's time to get your snake looking right for this snake draft with the sponsors of today's show, Manscaped. The leaders in below the waist grooming have created a championship lineup with their Performance Package 4.0. Make sure you join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code STAYHOT. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker, the Ultimate Flex, watch it run through ear and nose hairs like Derrick Henry coming right up the gut. You know, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code STAYHOT at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code STAYHOT at manscaped.com. It's time to put the PP back in PPR and get your grip and get a grip on your, I can't read, and get a grip on your pigskin this season with Manscaped.
I had a lot of fantasy football references. I think I'm going to get
it. Honestly, like whoever wrote that, round of applause. Like, honestly.
I don't know about that. We got Rodney Dangerfield out here. You got to adjust the tie after every single one of those.
I don't know if it was just the audio, but it kind of like broke up as you're saying Derrick Henry. So all I heard was Derrick Henry, and I'm like, is Bladen doing the worst British accent of all time?
Hi, Derrick Henry.
I pick up Derrick Henry, huh? Isn't it?
Derrick Henry? No. Yeah.
As badly as possible.
Yeah. Before we get out, we have a question of the day from our chalkboard. Bengal, if you would like to be included in that. And the general question is how many teams, if their head coach was, or like how many teams are an elite head coach away from like being a really good team? And like the question like based on that is like how many teams, if you added like Mike Tomlin, would like take a drastic step, or like a McVay.
I mean, all of them would.
Yeah.
But like, I guess, yeah. Like, and like, obviously, you would rather have those guys than like a rookie head coach.
you give the Cowboys Sean McVay, and I think they like win the Super Bowl. I guess like if we're talking about maybe the teams that would have the biggest jumps, I would legitimately say like the Dallas Cowboys with the talent on that roster. If they get freed from the shackles of Mike McCarthy. And the coaching staff.
They got Kellen Moore calling
plays. They do have Kellen, and I just thought of that.
Would a big offensive-minded head coach really change things?
Yeah, maybe not, actually. I just thought about how good the coordinators are and Dan Quinn on the other side. I don't know. Who would be the best? Because I think eventually if you get a guy like McVay, eventually as they fill out the roster the way they see it, they can turn around basically any team in the league eventually. But for this year, right now, I mean, maybe the Panthers. If you get Mayfield in that kind of play action-y, like what they were running with Goff, and the defense plays all right, which I think they can do. I mean, maybe they can make the playoffs if you take away Rule and you put in McVay. Maybe I would say them, but I'm not totally sure.
It would be a pretty serious upgrade. I kind of think that they would.
Yeah, I honestly don't know.
I'm not sure who the other horrible coaches are in the league. Besides Rule is the one that like stands out. Every other coach is like brand new.
Right. That's the thing, is there's like a lot of rookie coaches. So like it's hard to really tell. But I mean, you would still rather have like McVay. I guess like maybe if you like
the Bengals, if the Bengals had McVay like instead of the Cardinals Taylor, I'd be like, damn.
Cliff Kingsbury.
I think you liked Cliff.
I did. But I'm kind of indifferent right now. And like if you told me I can have Cliff Kingsbury or Mike Tomlin, who's like the greatest coach of our generation other than Bill Belichick, like yeah.
What about Kyler? Kyler was calling plays in the fourth quarter of the Cardinals game.
Kyler Murray, coach of the year.
That is so funny, dude, that he did that because Cliff Kingsbury was like, we need to teach him a lesson about doubting my play calls. We're going to have him call the plays in practice, and then we're going to have him call the plays in the preseason game. Imagine you're this like quarterback, or really anyone on the offense, like trying to scrape together a career like on the back half of the roster, and then Kyler's like, we're calling and they end up with -2 yards of offense that quarter.
That's literally the shit that like in high school, that's the shit we would do like on like we would go to like JV games and we'd be like, yo coach, can I call a play? And sometimes you know they would let like one of the quarterbacks call a play because they would know the whole playbook. But
anyway, my answer to the McVay question, the two that could improve the most, give me the Bengals and the Panthers. Those are
Bengals and the Panthers.
I have a question for you. Bengal, what is your favorite Marvel movie? We've talked like a ton about that in the last like month.
Thor Ragnarok, probably.
Good take.
Great
it's a good
choice.
movie.
I like it.
It's a good movie.
Can't argue with that.
Cannot argue with that. No.
What are your thoughts on like a movie can be bad but also just be fun at the same time?
Oh, I know that very well. Me and some of my YouTube buddies, who is there? I don't know that you guys would know. Do you guys know the MLB The Show YouTuber Magunsky?
No.
I think I've heard the name.
You might not.
You might not. Maybe.
Wheels from Madden.
Yeah.
And Daddy Dimmu TV. These are bizarre names. Now that I'm hearing them out loud.
Oh, my friend's dead. Imagine telling that to someone in like 1980.
Yeah.
These are my friends.
I'm named after an animal, so I don't have much room to be talking. But we watched Hubie Halloween. Do you guys know this movie? I'm film?
Not familiar with
film.
It is an Adam Sandler Netflix movie, somewhat recent, and it's basically I think he had tweeted something out like, if this gets X amount of like whatever, or if X happens, I'll make the worst movie of all time. Or something like that, and this is like the result of that. So it's about just this. Well, he wears a helmet quite frequently in the movie, and he's a little. There's something going on.
Okay,
and it's a Halloween movie, and it's so bad that it's like good.
Yeah. There's a movie that I watched. It's a Will Ferrell, and I think it's on Hulu now. It's called Casa de Mi Padre.
I've seen it. Yeah,
it's the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's so bad that it ended up being hilarious, and thus I enjoyed it.
I think your threshold.
Bladen, you've just given the take that you don't dislike any movie you've ever watched. That's what we were discussing. It's just like
I can enjoy the fact that it was like, if it's bad, I'm like,
effort.
Okay, I can just be like, this is comical, right? And thus enjoy it.
You've never seen, but like some movies are bad and they're boring. you know, like some movies are bad and they're entertaining. Some are just like boring from front to back.
That's the thing is like, I don't think I've seen a movie that's bad and boring
ever in your life. You're like, I would like this movie to be over now. You've never had that thought.
I don't think so.
That is so crazy to me. It is. So
you're just not a fun soul, Theo. That's the difference between you and.
I cannot find the joy in some bad movies. You're right. If that makes me not a fun soul, but the worst movie I've ever seen that is like so bad that it's funny is the movie Love on a Leash, which is like made by this old woman about a golden retriever who like turns into a man and then she marries him. It's a great movie.
What is this, like Princess and the Frog? Like,
yeah, it's like that, but with like her pet dog. It's really weird because it's her pet dog, and the dog has
Bengals over here. Like, what the fuck are these guys talking about?
I was thinking about one of the worst movies I've ever watched, Joe versus the Volcano. I watched it in a film class, and supposedly it's like you either really like or really dislike the movie. I don't know why we'd watch it in a film class, but it had Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan in 1990. And it is just so boring. I think I legitimately fell asleep during it. It's so slow and dull, and maybe that's the point. And someone will say that's art. That's what they want it to do. It's accomplishing the goal. It's a great film. Like Uncut Gems is supposed to make you feel anxious, and people are like, this is amazing.
It is
I
amazing.
hate that movie. I hate it.
I worked at a movie. I actually worked at a movie theater when that came out. I've never seen more people walk out of a movie than that one there. Like, it was so many people walked out.
But see, the thing is, people are going to say L take or whatever, and like even some of my friends are like, "What do you mean you don't like Uncut Gems?" To me, it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I just thought it was terrible, no plot, and then crazy ending, and that's supposed to save it. And people are like, well, it wanted to make you feel anxious.
That's exactly how I feel about the movie. That's exactly how I feel about the movie Midsummer and Hereditary, where it's like that. It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable, bro. It's supposed to make you feel like squeamish. And then I'm just like, that was horrible. There was nothing to that besides like that aspect of it. But I actually really liked Uncut Gems. But I feel that exact same way about those two. I don't know if you've ever seen them.
I've seen Hereditary. I'm not really a scary movie guy at all. And I actually think I have seen some of Midsummer. And those are like maybe 2 of the 5 horror movies I've ever seen. So it just random. I just don't think they're good. Is kind of what it means. Well, you're supposed to be scared. I'm like, well, I don't like that.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good Bengal. That's a phenomenal. I think horror movies are like. I think horror movies are actually pretty poorly made.
I just don't. A lot of them are. I don't like being scared.
No, like I think the idea of scary movies is the same idea of like people that make spicy food like intentionally spicy but not like flavorful. It's like you made that movie, you tried to make a movie that was scary with no plot, and the only attraction was that it was scary, and it's a bad movie. I think a lot of scaries fall into that bucket. Silence of the Lambs does not. That's a great movie.
It's not a horror movie, though.
I wouldn't even call it. I would call that a thriller.
Yeah. I guess that's fair.
I think that's kind of the goal of some scary things is like kind of unlock that same sort of intensity that you feel during a thriller. Like the best horror thing I've ever watched is season 1 of Haunting of Hill House. That's like a horror. That was a TV show, but I thought that was really good. And some of it is like the suspense and all of that can be well done. I'll appreciate some horror. There's some of it out there that I've watched and I've enjoyed, but Hereditary was not one. And most horror is like pretty like Blumhouse. They have their share of misses and like comically bad stuff. But anyway, it is an L take for Uncut Gems though.
But
classic Theo L Ash.
Leo
that
Ash.
That movie won it's on Criterion Collection. It can't be bad.
I don't know who does like some of this. Like what makes somebody a critic? Oh, I went to film school and this movie was actually in a great
it's like film. The PFF grades of movies.
Literally.
Yeah. What makes someone a critic, says the YouTube talent scout. Who gives them the right to say this is good or bad?
That's fair. But it's kind of like, you ever seen on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever? It's like, it'll be like critic score 30% and then like audience score, and then it'll be like 80 or 90%. You're like, that's a pretty drastic difference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like on one hand, I get it. An expert is more qualified to say whether something is good or bad. But I think that's when it's like not really opinion based. With opinion stuff like ice cream or food, or I don't know, I said ice cream, but like food or music or something like that. It's like you can't objectively say whether something is good or bad. It's like it depends on your ear and your preference. Like a movie, it's like I don't know that there's one, I'm an expert and I can tell you that was actually really good when it like I don't know.
I think sometimes it comes down to like if they've watched a bunch, they're better qualified to tell you if something like is above or below. Like Bladen, for example, he's probably watched 15 movies in his whole life and just rewatches the same 15. So then when he tells me like the writing in like Revenge of the Sith is actually really good, I'm like, you have not seen enough good movies to say that. So maybe
you were the chosen one. It was
maybe as a critic, your job is just to watch so many that you could have a good base to compare to other ones.
Not leave them in dark.
But anyway,
you were my brother, Anakin.
Are these Star Wars quotes?
You never seen? Have we been through this? I feel like I almost remember you saying that you've never seen Star Wars.
Well, you'd be correct whether you remembered or not. Yeah.
Well, outside of like 2 of the movies, you're not honestly missing much.
No, you're missing.
I think it was like a thing that you have to watch when you're younger, I would say, because that's like how they trap you.
The original trilogy is pretty
good. The
good.
original trilogy is pretty good. The 4th and the 5th one, I think, are objectively like quite good. And then the 6th, like Return of the Jedi, is like how that closes with like the Ewoks and stuff. That gets a little bit silly, but it's still an all right one. The prequels are pretty boring. The sequels, a lot of people, if you care very deeply about Star Wars, they'll probably hate the sequels, but if you don't, you might find some enjoyment out of that. I have no idea, but
I care
at this point, it's fun to say that you've
them.
Never seen them, so I would just advise never ever watching them, just for a person.
I don't plan.
Or just watch them and then just continue to tell people that you've never seen.
I'd never seen them. No, but the thing is like Star Wars is so big in culture that like I can name probably like 10 different characters, and I've never seen the movie. Like even I've seen the Family Guy Star Wars episodes when I was younger.
Have you seen like the Robot Chicken?
Dude, Robot Chicken was always that show that, oh my God, I woke up on the couch and I need to go to bed. It's like
that and like
I stayed up
George
way too late.
Lopez.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think I could watch an episode of Robot Chicken.
The Robot Chicken Star Wars episodes are pretty funny. I don't know.
You don't know Robot Chicken? You never heard of that?
I've heard of it, but like,
it's a bizarre, like, I think Cartoon Network claymation show.
It's pretty good. I've actually seen it. I'm just saying, like, what are we talking about in terms of like, where is this episode gone?
We're like, we've gone like 15 minutes off of like sports track and like, I don't even know where we're at. But I think that can pretty much wrap things up. I know our editor has a lot to chop through at this point. So thanks again, Bengal, for joining us for the 500,000th time. Everyone, we appreciate you all tuning in.
I guess I won't come back if overstaying my welcome.
No, we love having you on. It's always a great time. And as always, from Corn Boy, Bird Boy, Lemon Boy, and Bengal, we will catch you all on the flippity flop.